Okay, sorry. My daughter fell, so I had to stop abruptly on that one. So back to the base colors. If you do your base coat a color that's similar to your glitter color, you won't have to do as many coats. And sometimes with a lighter color like this, you do need to do other coats. If you're doing like a light pink, a light blue, and you want it to look like it does in the bottle of glitter, you'll have to add more coats to make it look a little bit darker. So this just helps that along significantly. And I think this is going to be like the perfect color combo. So I'm just going to go over it twice. Alright, so this one's pretty much coated. Kind of looks white in the video, but you can tell it's more of a khaki-ish than a whitish. So let me do the bottom of that one. Whoop. Losing caps. So I'm gonna save it. And this was a brand new glitter. I have never used it before, so you can see that I didn't use much at all. And I went over that one twice. I actually might go over it a third time. So just make sure you get the entire bottom, the entire base. I'm just gonna go over it one more time just to make sure that, because I used extra epoxy on this one. So I just want to make sure it doesn't soak in too much and get too wet looking. So I'm just going to quickly cover it again just to be safe. All right. So looking over it, I think it looks pretty good. So we'll slap off all the excess. And now we'll move on to the funner one. Funner, is that a word? More fun one. Okay. So there's glitter flying everywhere. When I have two colors to do on one cup, I like to do the lightest color first. It's easier to get the darks and the lights, and then you can't blend them together. So if you start with your lighter color, then you won't have a problem because it won't stick. The darker colors won't stick to it. So I kind of tilted at an angle. I also do it, I don't go down as far as I normally would. So when I do my mixed color, I'm only gonna go up like here, and I'm gonna leave a little section in the middle, and that's where I'm gonna like kind of combine the white and the mixed color together so that the middle will blend nicely and you won't be able to see such a tough line in there. And I'll show you how to do that in a second. All right, so when you got it pretty much over, so I'm gonna pick up all my white, put it back in here. So now I'm going to go with my mixed color that I mixed the two up. And I'm going to hold it again at a slant. That way I can control the way that the glitter goes on there a little bit better. And I'm just, this one I go very slow because I don't want to mess up and have it go higher than I anticipate. So the slower you go, even when you start at the bottom, it just helps you remember to go slow, because if you tend to go faster, you're just gonna like zoom through it. And that's how mistakes are made, at least for me. If you're able to go super fast, then I wish I was you, because I cannot, without making a total mess and a disaster of everything I'm working on. Okay. Oop. Oh, doesn't want to stand up. This glitter likes to get stuck to the paper, especially the blue mix I used, so I like to try to get it all in there so I can keep it all mixed up, because if I throw the blue on top and then I just throw it on there, you get a spot with like way more of a solid color than the mixed color that you want. All right, so we're gonna keep on going. I think I'm gonna bring my white down a little bit farther than I have it, because I am gonna do the crayons and I want enough room for it. Then for mixed ones like this, less is better in my opinion. So when you're mixing them, I mix less in the container than I think I will need, so I'm not wasting as much. I do have a dump cup that I dump all my excess glitters in, and then when it fills up, I'll make a dump cup tumbler. But these crazy bright, big confetti-like glitters don't always look the greatest in my dump cups. So I try not to do too much when I'm mixing it together. All right, this one is almost done. Now I might need to mix a tiny bit more, but I might not, we'll see. I need to do a little bit right here. All right, so I think I'm gonna mix a tiny bit more of these two colors together into my The only thing about mixing more in is you're risking having more of one color because you didn't mix it perfectly. But I really don't think anybody will notice, so I think we'll be okay. Okay, so I left let's see if you can see, I left a line in the middle where it's not glittered at all. Now that line is where I'm going to take, well, I'm gonna make my white line go a little bit lower, just because I need room for the crayons to go on here, and it's a smaller cup than my 30 ounce, so I want a little bit more room. So I'm gonna take it down just a smidge, not much. Okay, that's better. So I took it down a little tiny bit. So there's just a little line that you can see that has no sparkly glitter. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the mixed up glitter that I have, which isn't very much. I'm gonna take a little bit of white, the same color, or whatever color you used on top. I'm gonna mix those two colors together so that the colorful one isn't so bright and it has a little bit of the white shining through, so it doesn't have such a hard, obvious line. Now when I do this, I tilt it completely down so that I can do it at a downward angle. That way I don't get too much up here where I don't mean to. And I can kind of control how it's gonna go on there. One more time. And we're going to do the same thing. All right. So that way you can have not such a uniform line, but not super like off either. It's pretty similar. on their shapes. So I'll add all this to my dump cup. And then I'll also add all this glitter mess that I have at the bottom here. Okay, so when I get done glittering them all, if I have a chunky glitter, so my two cheat code glitters and then my chunky one is the one I'll show you how I do. So this is my cheat code, and you can tell that you can see through the glitter, but it still gives like a nice, it looks like it's ombre, those two colors, but it's really not. So now you can take a gloved hand, but I'm not gonna waste a glove. You just tap it very lightly to lay down your chunky, especially along your rim and your bottoms, because you don't want a chunkiness to be sticking up after you epoxy. So you just very lightly tap it and then it will fall off. And I do this around the entire cup. And once you get a line down, you can really tell where they're sticking up and where they're not, so it's a lot easier. And if you take a little bit too much off and you can see some of your spray paint underneath, you can very easily just add a little bit more glitter to there. Or you can wait until you do your first coat of epoxy and then throw a little bit on. But you did such a thin coat of epoxy to do the glitter that you're not even going to be leaving any residue on your fingers. There's no epoxy on my fingers. Well, there might be a tiny, tiny bit that I can't really feel or see. So for you guys that are freaks about epoxy, that don't want it not touching your skin at all, then I'd suggest wear a glove. But I'm not that bad. So I just tap it all until it's completely down. And I'm going to try to show you what it looks like on my end. So you can, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell, but you can see how it looks so flat up here. And then when you get to here, let's see if you can tell. Oh, you can't tell very well, but it's more chunky up here because I haven't flattened that part yet. When it's all flattened, it's gonna look really nice. And then around the rim, I just take my finger and I go completely around the rim to remove any glitter that's up there. So that one's pretty good, except for a few spots. So that'll just make it easier when I go to seal this and then epoxy it. It'll make it easier for me that the glitter is all laying down already. And there won't be any sharp shards when I am ready to put my decal on that I have to sand and re-epoxy. So that one's good. And then this one, same thing, because some of these are just sticking out because it's a confetti glitter. You're just going to tap them down. And all the glitter that's falling off, you can throw it into your dump cup. There's not very much of it. And let's keep going until it's done. All right, so there's that one. There's always gonna be a few little strays that are still sticking up, and that's okay. For the most part, they're all down, which just makes it way easier for me when I go to epoxy this. All right, so for this next one that I used, the Walmart glitter, it didn't have as many different sizes like the first one did. So this one's kind of a chunky glitter, but it's kind of like a gritty glitter by itself, even when you tap it down. So this one I wouldn't really tap down, but I would just make sure I get around my rim and around my, just make sure there's nothing too crazy around my bottom. because this one's not gonna really go down like the one with different shards in it. All right, so since this is part of my dump cup, I'm just gonna take all of this excess glitter that fell off and I'm gonna throw it into here. And I will later convert that into my dump cup. So that is how I do the glitter epoxy method. They're all gonna sit here and dry. Usually I'd only have to dry them for like 2 hours before I can go on to my next step. But since I am out of my fast set epoxy, I will let these dry probably overnight before I start epoxying them. I just clean up my mess of glitter before I decal my next one. I need to get one of those glitter vacuums. It's on my Amazon list. But every time I go to order, I never think of it until I'm in the middle of glittering something and I just don't have time to order it at that time. So invest you in one of those. All right, so that's how the start of my Christmas tumbler cup. This bad boy right here. I start out by glitter method epoxy. This one is gonna be a Christmas tumbler cup. I did the same thing as I did on those. This has 2 coats of epoxy on it after I did the glitter method. It's completely dry now, so it's ready for the decals. And then I will switch over and hopefully my cup that is turning right now will be ready for the actual lights to go on it. So this one is gonna have a little bit different of a decal, which I already cut out on my Cricut. It's gonna say Candy Cane Wishes and Mistletoe Kisses and have their last name on the back. So for this one, I messed up a little bit right here and I didn't put enough red. I did more green than I did red, as you can see. That was my first like shot at it and I was like, okay, well that was definitely not enough red. So that's gonna be the back of my cup, just because it's got a mess up right there and that's gonna get covered with more lights. So usually I just feel which one's the softest for me because it's obviously not perfect yet. So I usually just feel which one's the best for me to put a decal on, and that's how I choose with my front and my back. But since this one I already have a boo-boo cup, this is gonna be my front of my cup, so that the back of it you don't pay much attention to. So I have all my pieces cut out. I am going to use some transfer tape. Usually I use masking tape to put all my decals on. That's how I'll do the last name, so I'll show you that part. Because I don't like to waste my transfer tape. But I do have some. Well, I have a lot, but this is my scrap bin. Here's some that looks like it was already used at one point. We'll use it again. Okay, so the Mistletoe Kisses is gonna go inside of this little banner. So I'm gonna start with doing the Candy Cane Wishes. So I'll probably start with Candy Cane so that I can try to line it up the way I need it. I don't need it this big. Oops. Okay. So the candy cane has a little candy cane right here. And I'll put all of that on the same piece of transfer tape. And use my handy dandy scraper to press it all on my transfer tape real well. Pull it off. So I'm going to measure up where I want it. And I solely eyeball this. Like 100% eyeball it. And hope that it's okay. So it's on there. It's pretty even on the top. Might be a little bit off, but if I hate it, I'll go back and redo it in a little bit. So there is the start. This is the other part of my candy cane, and it's the only other white piece I have, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put that on next. All right. I'm gonna line that up. If I can get it lined up. All right, there's my candy cane. Can you see it very well? So I will do candy cane wishes. You need to put a coat on, please.
It's not even that cold out. Not gonna roll down.
Okay, so wishes is gonna go right under my candy cane. Let's get it down a little bit. I should be looking at the picture that I got this off of so I can see exactly where everything's supposed to be, but we're gonna eyeball it today. So I made my W a little wrinkly. I'm gonna fix that really quick. Oop. Now I just tore it right off, so. There we go. Better. So candy cane wishes and mistletoe is going in the banner. So I'm gonna stick the banner and the, I don't know what you call these things. The little green things with the red pieces, whatever you call that. That's going on there too. The berries or whatever it is. No idea. So I'm just going to line it up.
Love you.
Love you too. That was off. So like I said, I solely eyeball these things. And they're not always perfect. So I will like get the whole thing on there. Then I'll just I'll rip the whole decal off and redo it. If I don't like it. So I know I don't like where this W is at. And I know that this part is already broken as I break it again. So I'm going to move that up now before I move on. There we go. So I'll probably go back and fix that W later and cut out a new one. But for now, that's better. All right, so then and mistletoe is going inside the banner. That's what I'll go on next. And then last, kisses. And then for my mistletoe, I lost the dot for the eye. So I'll have to go back and recut the dot for my eye. And then the little red things, whatever we decided to call those. That's my last little bit on here. I really cannot remember how this went on there. So we're just gonna guess. Okay, so there are those decals. Candy cane kisses and candy cane wishes and mistletoe kisses. Now for her last name, I will show you what I do with I like using masking tape or painter's tape a lot better. When I have to do things like that, I like to use my transfer tape that I can see through because then I can line things up a lot better. But if you don't want to waste it and you have something like this, I just put it on there and I keep the top pieces showing so I know where to put it. And it comes off so easy. You don't have to like press on it or anything. It sticks right on there. And then I will do a finger guide on where the last name should be. Press it on here. And pull her off. As we pull off the Y. That doesn't usually happen. Pull her off, and then there is the last name. So there's the decal, last name. There is a spot on the rim. Oh, it must be on the other rim. I have a little missing glitter spot. It must be on my other rim, the one we're gonna do right now. And that's where I'm gonna put my battery pack. But this will be a Christmas lights tumbler, just like this one. So now I will show you how, hopefully, how to apply the lights. I think that it's gooey enough. For this, I do use gloves because it gets, I use it when the epoxy's tacky. So I have a space heater going right now. I actually got it for my fast set so that it will dry faster. But it also works for your regular epoxy. I got it on Amazon for like 17 bucks. And I epoxied this cup. When did I epoxy this bad boy? I want to say it was around, must have been around 11 a.m. and it's now 3:30. And it's ready. It's tacky enough that I could probably take it off of the turner if I wanted to and stick it up on my drying rack. And that's how tacky you want it to be when you apply your lights. You want it to be tacky enough that something can stick to it still, but not wet enough that you can't take it off of the turner without the epoxy gooing down. So this is the lights I use. This is from Amazon. There's a 6-pack for $8.99 or $9.99. I think they just upped their price to $9.99, but I can't really remember. Maybe $8.99. And they're 7.2 inches long, I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure 7.2 inches long. I know some people, you get the Strawbler tumblers and they hide their battery packs. I know that there's a new mold out that hides your battery pack. That's just not how I do them. But if you find ones that do that, then you would put this in the bottom and then wrap it around. I like it by the rim. So you just detangle how they come out of the box. First, I like to make sure they work. Detangle how they come out. And if it's not sticky enough yet, I will stop this and come back. But I think we should be able to make it work good enough for a video. The wire is very dainty, and they definitely don't package them the easiest. So just be careful with how you are taking them out. It's kind of a pain in the behind. There we go. Once you get it started, it's usually much easier than this. I don't know why this one's giving me so much problems. Yeah, so you need to put your coat on and your shoes on. All right, so we're almost there. Here we go. Maybe. There we go. This one looks like it's, there we go. So you want to undo the entire string of lights. Just do one more quick test to make sure that they're all lit up. You don't want to put them all on your cup and then be like, oh, half of them aren't lit up. Because that would just be a mess. So I like to leave them on while I put them on the cup. That way I can see where they're going. Now I'm gonna flip the camera down here. Let's see if I can get it on the actual tumbler. So like I said, this one has been turning since I want to say 11:30-ish is when I did it. This is the space heater I use. It's just a really small one on Amazon. It packs quite a bit of heat for being so small. So it's sticky enough to leave a little bit of residue on my glove, but not enough where if I turned it off that I feel like it would drip or anything. So there's two ways you can do it. You can turn it off while you are spinning it, or you can leave it on while you're spinning it, depending on how easy your cup can turn on your spinner. Mine can turn pretty easily without it on, so I'm going to turn it off just so I can maneuver it the way I want to. And like I said, I messed up a glitter spot at the top of this one right here, and that's where I want my battery pack. I'll try to turn it sideways so you guys can see it. Okay, so this piece, it only goes one way. If you go this way, it'll go over your light switch. So whichever way you put it on, you want to make sure that you're starting to wind it in that direction versus the opposite. So I'm going to stick my battery pack here. You're not going to stick it too close to the rim because you want your cup to still, or your top to still be able to go on there. But you're going to stick it on. I'm going to turn off my heater if I can get it to turn off. You stick it on there, press it on, and then I'm going to turn on the turner now. So now I'm just going to basically wrap the lights around as it turns. Now they are going to stick up in some spots, and that's okay, because when it gets a little bit more tacky, you can just stick them down. I go around the battery pack, and I do go over the words. Some people don't want to go over the words. Some people want to see what the words say completely. My customer doesn't mind, so I do go through my words, through her name. You can make it in any direction, design, anything like that. It's pretty free range on these ones. So a lot of people ask how they stay on while you're epoxying, and this is my trick. You do them when it's tacky. That way it stays on and you don't have to worry about them falling off. The first one I did, I tried E6000 glue, and that's how I tried putting it on. That did not work very well. The lights did not want to stay like they do now. So then when I did my second one, I discovered this way, and I was like, this is just way easier. So we're just going to continue doing this way. So obviously I don't go on the bottom. So when my string gets to the bottom, I just wind her back up, and I try to fill in some of my blank spots that might not have as many lights or might look a little bit more blank than the other spots. Try not to get too many overlapping each other. Okay, we're almost to the end of this wire, and I'll show you what I do with the end. So when you get to the very end, it sticks up. It doesn't like to just lay flat. Sometimes they do. We'll see if it does. It's not going to. So we get to the very end. If it doesn't stick like I want it to, we're going to see if it pops up on this time around. It did. See how it pops up? So I take the wire and that very last light bulb, and I tuck it under the closest piece of wire and push that down. That's going to hold it in place. Now, as it's going around, you just want to make sure that the battery pack is still in place where you want it. I wouldn't worry too much about the wires. See how it kind of curved a little bit? I wouldn't worry too much about the wires right now. Really, I wouldn't worry a ton about the battery pack either. If it was a little bit stickier, it would stay in place a little bit better. But you can press it down after maybe 30-40 minutes when the epoxy cures even more. You just go around and you're just going to push everything down. Obviously, it's going to be a textured cup unless you go over it a million times with epoxy, since they are lights. So it's going to have bumps regardless, but you can definitely go through and push the wires down so they're not sticking up quite as much. And for where the wires are, your epoxy will cover, and it won't be as textured on the wires. It'll be more just textured where the lights are themselves, because they stick up a little bit more. So without a space heater, it would probably take about 6 to 8 hours for this to happen, for it to get tacky enough for me to be able to do this. With my fast set epoxy, that I usually use, I can do this with a space heater. I could do this after an hour. Without the space heater, it was about 2.5 hours that I would wait. But I definitely recommend getting a space heater if you don't already have one, even for regular epoxy, because it is kind of a life changer. You can move these cups so much faster. So I will try, like I said, this is like I'm not a huge YouTube person. I mean, I do watch YouTube for all my cup videos, but I have never really done like tutorials and whatnot. So if you have any questions, go ahead and ask. I'll try to get back to you if I can figure out how. I'm going to try to also link the lights that I got in the bottom of this somewhere, wherever you link this stuff at. And I'll also try to link the space heater that I got. If you have any other tutorials that you want me to do, let me know and I can do them. I am going to do a water slide one. I will probably do that one on Sunday. Today is Friday. Just because my water slide papers come Saturday and I have a birthday party Saturday afternoon, so I don't know if I'll be able to get it done on Saturday, but I will get it done for sure on Sunday. And then I will also show you guys this cup completed, as well as the other one that I did the decals on. Now you can see the decals way better. And then I just stuck her name on the back. So that is all. If you have questions, let me know.